Next bill on the calendar for today is House File 3768.
House File number 3845, number 3 on the calendar for the day. An act relating to children and families, the first engrossment.
I recognize the author of the bill, Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, members. May is National Foster Care Awareness Month, and I'm really glad that we get to kick it off talking about this bill to create an office for a youth foster ombudsperson. I want to start by thanking everyone who's worked on this bill and supported it. The trauma and pain and compassion that has come out of this work has been indescribable. This has been an exceptionally bipartisan effort from beginning to end. And for that, I am truly thankful. Representative Schumacher, Representative Johnson, Representative Albright, Representative Nash, Representative O'Neill, and everyone who engaged at our various committee stops, I want to thank you for helping make this bill what it is today. I also want to thank Representative Moran, Representative Hassan, Representative Keeler, Representative Cleavorn, Representative Becker-Finn, and Representative Pinto, and all of the other legislators who have prioritized the safety and well-being of kids for your careers and in this work. The awareness that you've brought to these important issues over the years matters, and thank you. And as always, we can't go without saying thank you to our amazing staff with all of the amendments at our various committee stops for making sure we worked well across the aisle to get all of the changes we needed. I also want to take a second to thank Huang Murphy and Foster Advocates for stepping up to advance this important legislation. And most importantly, I want to say thank you and welcome to all of the young folks joining us here in the gallery today. Izzy, Ada, Shauna, Maya, and all of you have shared your stories and called for change, and thank you for that. I hope that today is a day that you remember and a reminder as a day where you made a difference. Not just in your own lives, but in the lives of young people in foster care for generations to come. Your work has created a permanent mark on Minnesota history, and I am so proud of you. I believe that storytelling helps us change the world, and your stories and advocacy are what got us here today. It's been my honor to have the privilege to work with you on this, and today I present this bill on your behalf and with your stories on my heart. Because together with youth and advocates, legislators, and staff, we've developed a bill that will improve lives and make the differences we need. HF3845 seeks to create an office of a youth foster ombudsperson. And we need to do this because children in foster care face critically important issues, and they deserve to be served and protected like all children in our state. Every kid deserves to have a caring team of adults and peers in their corner who are looking out for their best interests, and that's not the case for too many kids. Youth in foster care do not always have a resource or an avenue for intervention when they face abuse, neglect, discrimination, or exploitation at the hands of our very own child protection systems. In 2021, there were approximately 12,400 children and young adults experiencing out-of-home care, with nearly 7,700 in foster care on any average day. Though the number of children in foster care overall has been on a decline, there are still alarming disparities. Younger children, children from rural counties, and children of color are disproportionately represented in our foster care system. And in Minnesota in 2020, Indigenous children were 16 times more likely than white children to be removed from their homes. African American and Black children were nearly twice as likely. And children of 2 or more races were nearly 7 times more likely to experience out-of-home placement than white children. The disparities facing Indigenous kids and families in particular are some of the worst in the nation, and too many of us see the similarities between today's child protection system and the horrendous boarding schools of the past. The system is infected by biases, and we're working to address this through other bills and lots of great efforts. And the goal of this office is that this will be another stepping stone in the right direction. The office aims to provide oversight and for the systems that are tasked with protecting Minnesota's children from harm, and to create a pathway to adequately track the issues that are affecting young people. As it stands today, there are no organizations collecting or tracking the complaints and common concerns that arise for youth in foster care. And while we, of course, have some data that gives us glimpses into our system overall, the lack of more data means that we are lacking that ability to make data-informed decisions as we work to protect kids and implement the meaningful changes that they need. Establishing this office will promote equity and equal opportunity for more kids in the foster care system. And although this will not address all of the needs, I don't want to leave us thinking that this is all we need to do. Establishing this office formalizes the organizational structure necessary to create positive changes. It will allow us for more capacity to do independent investigations, and it will allow us to track areas where these interventions are needed. This office will improve Minnesota's child welfare system by digging deep to address the intersecting issues that youth and families often face in the foster care system, whether that be discrimination, neglect, exploitation, high school and higher education graduation barriers, housing stability, homelessness, and substance abuse. We have what it takes to do better. So thank you again to everybody who's supported this effort so far, and I would like to ask for your green vote today. Thank you.
There's an amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
Hanson J. moves to amend House File Number 3845, the first engrossment. The amendment is coded A7.
I recognize the author of the amendment, Representative Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to Representative Johnson for bringing this amendment forward. Through the committee process, we made several changes to this bill, and this is the last one that we needed to make to get this in the shape we wanted. This bill will add a requirement that the reports of the findings of the Ombudsperson's office will not just be sent to the governor, but will also come to the chairs and minority leads of the corresponding committees in the legislature. So thank you again, Representative Johnson.
I recognize the member from Isanti, Representative Johnson.
Mr. Speaker, Representative Hanson, thank you for this bill. Normally, I don't like the ombudspersons, but this is needed. And with this amendment, not only does the report go to the governor, it goes to our leads and our chairs. So if we do find a problem or if one is arising, we hear about it. Instead of waiting halfway through session before we find out, we will know ahead of time so we can work on those issues when they're minor issues before they become critical and serious issues, so we can plan ahead and get the work done on time.
Further discussion to the A7 amendment. Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. The amendment, the motion prevails and the amendment is adopted. There's an amendment at the desk. The clerk, the amendment has been withdrawn. Third, there's no further amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File Number 3845, as amended.
Third reading. Discussion. I recognize the member from Hennepin, Representative Claiborne.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I stand in support of House File 3845. This bill is to ensure the health, safety, and welfare of children for whom the state is responsible. I would like to thank Rep. Hanson and all of the youth and adult fosters who informed this work. Thank you for creating a safe space for voices to be heard, for the needs and concerns of our children to be met. This bill is a public affirmation of our responsibility to our children. We see you, we hear you, you are our children, and we care about you. Members, I urge a green vote.
I recognize the member from Scott, Representative Albright.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And members, first I want to thank Representative Hansen for bringing this bill forward. As has been said, people just need to know that they belong. And with that, you know, a sense of belonging, not only that, but you need to have a space, a place where you feel protected, where you can be encouraged, where you can grow. And that would come without fear or uncertainty. And so in a time and place where those that are living in the shadows of life, they need a hero. This state needs to be their hero, and I fully endorse this bill. Thank you, Representative Hansen. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I recognize the member from Carver, Representative Nash.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. Representative Hansen, thank you. Abused children should always have a voice. And you've heard my story before, so I won't go into it again, but as an abused child, I never had a voice. So this is a good bill. I am normally very opposed to spending money on new commissions and ombudspersons and so on, but the reason that we're having to do this is because the department has done just a pathetic job at their job. And that should come as no surprise, but this is what we're looking at. This is why we need this bill, because, again, they're just kids. And they need a voice. They need somebody who will say, we give a damn. We're going to make sure that you come out of this clean and whole and that you know that you're loved and cared for. So give kids a solid chance. Make sure that those who are suffering abuse have a voice and have an avenue to have the injustices that are pressed upon them an opportunity to have those addressed. So vote green. Thank you.
I recognize the member from Isanti, Representative Johnson.
Mr. Speaker, members, I come from a different place on this bill. I've been the one that's had to remove the children from the home and place them somewhere. But I'm not going to get into that too much because I've seen what happens with those kids when they finally do come home, when the parents have had the training and the education to take care of them right. I've seen the kids just happy in court because of the treatment they receive from very good foster care people. But I'm going to talk about somebody else today. There's an individual in this chamber that spent 2 months in foster care. First 2 months of their lives. That person was me. After I was born, I was placed into foster care until the parents that I have, my mom, the ones I called my mom and dad, unfortunately, they are no longer with me today, but they treated me as their own. They adopted me and it was just like everybody else. The treatment I received, from what I can tell from what my parents told me how I was when they picked me up, was fantastic. But the story of those kids up there should never happen. We need this bill to protect kids so we have no more kids like those up there. We have some fantastic foster parents across this state. Unfortunately, we have the few that aren't. We need to find them and make sure they don't do this again. Because we've had too many kids. One kid in that foster care system is too many. But we've had a few of them that they never unpack their suitcases because they keep going from home to home. We need to give them stability so they can become great people, better people than they already are. I give credit for what those up there have done to get this bill forward. I'm hoping this will make a change because for those few, unfortunate few, but we should have no unfortunate few. And I want to thank again Representative Hansen for bringing this forward. It's a good bill. I'm hoping everybody votes green because we need to protect every child in this state.
I recognize the member from Anoka, Representative Raleigh.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So on a very cold and blustery October day, a young man came into my life. His name is Shane. And Shane came into my home, and my wife and my children and I welcomed him in. And we had a problem with Shane, and that was we loved him, but he didn't know it to begin with. And Shane, as a growing kid, 12-year-old, he was hungry. And one day he went up onto the shelf in the pantry, and he basically took a bunch of food and cleaned out the shelf. And my wife and I talked about it, and we said, there's something deeper going on here. So we refilled the shelf with, the nutrition bars and peanut butter and a few things. And the next day, we saw that the shelf was empty again. What Shane was doing was he was taking the food and he was putting it into a backpack because he wasn't sure he was going to get another meal. He had been disappointed in those young 12 years and just wasn't sure. So I sat down with Shane and I said, buddy, this is your shelf. And I put his name on it. And I said, if there's anything on this shelf, anything at all, it's yours. You can't steal it. You can't take it. It is yours. You can do anything you want with it. So we refilled it. 2 days later, it was empty. There's no way he could eat it all. He was bringing it home to bringing it back to school for his friends. So we refilled the shelf. And we did this a few times until he finally got it. 21 years old, Shane moved out of my house, moved into his own house. Shane went to college, got a great job. And this weekend is a very emotional weekend for me because it's Mother's Day. About, I won't tell you how many years ago. I can't remember exactly how many years ago. But a few years ago, Shane came over to the house for Mother's Day, and he walked up to my wife, he looked her in the eye and said, "Hi, Mom," gave her a hug. And he pulled out of his pocket his driver's license. Now, a few weeks before that, my son Don and my son Shane showed up in court here in Minnesota. And we gave my wife and he gave my family a gift I had never could have imagined. He changed his last name. His name is Shane Raleigh. And I am so proud of my son. I am so proud of you, buddy. This is the type of work that we need to do in the House of Representatives. We need to protect our children. And we need to do it in thoughtful, caring, loving ways. And this is a way that we can reach out to the kids that are up here. And we, each and every single one of us, can be the example that we're trying to set. So Shane, you've heard it 100,000 times from me. I love you. To my family, thank you for giving Shane the love that only you guys could. Thank you for this bill, Chair Hansen. This is great. And I apologize for being emotional, but this is the work that we should be doing. This is where we can show Minnesotans who we are. Thank you.
I recognize the member from Hennepin, Representative Katiza-Watun.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Representative Hansen, for bringing this bill forward. It's a proposal that's near and dear to my heart, and as so many members have spoken about today, the role that foster care has played in my family's life is tremendous. And Representative Raleigh mentioned that Mother's Day is coming up, and while this bill isn't about us as individuals and us as parents, it's about the strength of the foster youth and adults who are with us in the chamber today and who are with us every day across the state of Minnesota. I am continually impressed and in awe of their courage and their bravery. And I just want to say that every child across the state of Minnesota deserves a safe and loving family and a place to call home. And this bill will help us get there. It's a step in the right direction. We have changes that we need to make. We need to uplift the voices of the youth and adults who have gone through things that no child should ever have to go through. And I just would like to encourage those who are in the chamber today, those who are listening at home, if you have love in your heart to share with a child in the foster care system, or you'd like to potentially adopt a child out of the foster care system, should they not be able to be reunited with their biological family, I would encourage you to take those steps and do that, because they have so much love to give. They have so much knowledge and experience, and I know that they're all going to do great things one day. And we are able to help them do that with this vote today. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I recognize the member from Candy, Ojai, Representative Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I do appreciate the messages about foster care, and I couldn't agree more. We need to expand on foster care, and with the coming work ahead, we're going to have a greater need for foster care and for adoption, so let's keep moving forward. I do want to take a slightly different take on this. I do support the bill, but it's in the case of this is to address foster children and the troubles that they're having. And I've experienced multiple times while I've served in office, I've gotten calls to where children have been placed in foster care and their parents want them back. And the county is all powerful, and the county does not seem to be consistent with what the rules are and stuff. Understand, members, this will empower parents to basically get their kids back when they should. I have had multiple cases where people are indefinitely in foster care and there's absolutely no need for it, but we have people within the county that are suddenly deciding to be their own gods because they have so much power. This office is going to enable those people to address these issues too. So I'm thankful for it in that way. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I recognize the member from Ramsey, Representative Moran.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I wasn't going to speak on this, but I do want to thank Representative Hansen for your work and for your leadership on this bill to create a specific department for our children in out-of-home placement. And I use the word our children because as legislators and lawmakers, I want us to be reminded that when kids do need to be removed from their homes and put in out-of-home placement and put in a home with foster parents, that we have an obligation and responsibility to make sure that those children's needs are being fulfilled, that we understand that the experience is traumatizing, so they're going through trauma, that we give them treatment. When we realize that kids are showing up in a school system and they are angry and they are sad and they are frustrated and they are rebelling, it is because of what is happening to them, what has happened to them. And so this is an opportunity for us at the state to realize that we are now the parents of these children, and we have a responsibility and an obligation to make sure that they are well. And yes, there are absolutely awesome foster parents. I know some. I took in my son's friend in his senior year and became his foster parent. And today he is like 30 years old and I'm his mom. He just asked me the other day, what would you like to do for Mother's Day? So we need loving people to see the humanity in our young people in the darkest moments of their lives to step up. But as a state, we have a responsibility and an obligation to make sure they're doing well. And as Representative Miller say, when the parents are working hard to be reunited, with their child and they're doing all that they can to create a safe, nurturing environment for that child to return home, we need to make that a priority. But we need a department that is primarily focused on that child, the children with out-of-home placement. So again, this is an issue that is very, very important to me, as it is with so many in the body, you know, but we have to align policies and practices. And you're right, Representative Miller, we have to hold those social workers who seem to be dangling little strings over parents who want to be reunified and blocking them for getting that opportunity to be reunited with their child in a safe, nurturing, thriving environment. So again, Representative Hansen, we have so much more work to do in this arena, to do it through a strength-based lens. You know, we have so much that we need to do to really, you know, be a part of creating a process where we're looking at the whole family. You know, that grandparents are important, because when a parent lose their parental rights, the grandparents also lose any rights to that child. The auntie and cousin also loses all of their rights. And that disconnect from all family members can be horrendous, can be very, very traumatizing for that child. And of course, that all depends on the age of the child. So again, thank you for bringing this bill forward. I also want to say to Hong Murphy, thank you for your leadership and helping us as legislators be better at what we do and how we do what we do. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members.
To the author of the bill, Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to everybody who spoke up today. You know, we have a long way to go, like Chair Moran was just saying. I've also have another bill you'll love, House File 3380, about family preservation, too, if you want to keep working with me on making the system better next year and in the years to come. I invite you to join me at that table. And members, as I said in the beginning, May is National Foster Care Month. And this bill brought forward, was brought forward by an organization called Foster Advocates. And so as I wrap up today, I just want to tell you a little bit about what they do and why I chose to work with them. Their work is centered on the collective organizing with youth in foster care. They operate under the belief that those closest to a problem are those closest to solving it. Their relationships with youth in foster care inform all pillars of their work. My heart goes out to organizations like this, because without these kinds of public-private partnerships, we wouldn't get to hear from as many kids as we've heard from. So thank you to Foster Advocates. Thank you, Huang, for all the work you've done. And thank you to all the kids who kept pushing them to do it too, because we know you guys played a piece in that. You know, Foster Advocates hosts and operates a leadership program that allows youth and young adults to reclaim their foster experience as a part of their identity, and to have opportunities to connect with their peers and others who have been in the system. They are doing the greatest work of amplifying the voices of the youth in need who have been and are, or maybe are still in the foster care system. And I can't leave this floor today without again saying thank you and commending you for this fantastic work. And what a way to kick off National Foster Care Month. Thanks again, and I would ask everybody in the chamber for a green vote today. Thank you.
There being no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll. Members, please vote. Will the clerk please call the names of the members who have not voted yet?
Acom.
Acom, aye.
Acom, aye. Damath.
Damath, aye.
Damath, aye. Drazkowski.
Drazkowski, no.
Drazkowski, no. Franzen.
Franson, aye.
Franzen, aye. Hamilton.
Hamilton, aye.
Hamilton, aye. Hausman.
Hausman, aye.
Hausman, aye. Heinzman. Heinzman. Hollins.
Hollins, aye.
Hollins, aye. Keel.
Keel, aye.
Keel, aye. Kosnick. Kosnick. McDonald. McDonald, aye. Miller.
Miller, aye.
Miller, aye. Moran.
Aye.
Moran, aye. Nelson, N.
Nelson, and aye.
Nelson, N, aye. Olson, B.
Olson B. Aye.
Olson, B, aye. Sandsted.
Sandsted, aye.
Sandsted, aye. Schumacher. Schumacher.
Schumacher, aye.
Schumacher, aye. Swazinski.
Swazinski, aye.
Swazinski, aye. Thompson. Thompson.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 121 ayes and 4 nays, the bill is passed as amended and its title agreed to.